Hello, kids.
Hello, kids.
Today, first look at that hat. First look at that hat and that T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's from our campaigning for Mr. Yang,
Mr. Andrew Yang.
who didn't make it,
Yeah,
but he was the best.
He was.
Okay, we'll try because it seems like, especially me, Bazi is much better than I am. Have a tendency to make all kind of turnarounds and roundabouts and all that. But we'll try to talk about basically the most important thing for your being, and that's about how grandma and grandpa, dad and mom met first time and how the relationship started. Now you need to realize, okay, that there are several stories about this. Some are more true than others, okay?
Yeah.
My most favorite is, and there's a lot of truth in that story, is that when I came to the United States, my English was really miserable, even worse than it's now, and much worse. And I went to a school which was called Southland College. And, Bob may talk about Southland College later in some other stories, but because there are some interesting. But basically, the bottom line is that I went there to learn English, or ESL, English as a second language. And your grandma to be was a teacher there during the summers, not through the year. So the truth is, and I insist on it, that she found me at that school. And because she's older, she took advantage of the student-teacher relationship.
Yes.
And basically, she did something which is not allowed in schools. Started a relationship with the students, and we'll leave it there, okay? No details. Another story says in the family storybook is that when I came to the United States, I was poor, very poor. That's the truth. While your grandma to be was from a middle class family, okay? Dollar here, dollar there. I mean, she had her clothes were from Talbot's and Neiman Marcus and all these things you don't even know they exist today. She was like a prep girl, beautiful. Oh, guys, she was so gorgeous. So I am standing on this Union Street in downtown LA, Union and 9th, okay, asking people who walked around for money because I needed to survive. And here comes this beautiful woman, absolutely gorgeous, blonde hair, thin like walking like Madonna. And I said, Miss, 25 cents a quarter for a poor immigrant from Czechoslovakia. And she stopped, she looked at me with those beautiful blue eyes, and she said, you know what, fella? I will take care of you. And she did. She took me in, and since then, the love is going on. I want to say that it was 1986, and I'm pretty sure that it was 1986. And Bazi now, because we need her to talk, she's much better talker than I am. She will tell you her version how we met and how it all started. Bazi.
Okay. Southland College is correct. That is a true part of the story. My best friend from high school. Her name was Mary Hagan, and she ran a program at Southland College to teach English as a second language. And I was teaching elementary school during the regular year, but in the summer, I needed employment to keep me going. And so,
Yeah, I will interrupt there. In those days, teachers were not paid 12 months a year. They were paid only during the school month. So these teachers who were not paid real well to start with were 2 months without, 2.5 months sometimes, without any income. That changed later on, but in those days, they had to find some job or whatever.
okay, so I did a lot of crazy jobs, but my favorite was working at Southland College. And Mary was wonderful about giving me the opportunity. And I had just a fabulous time teaching English to adults. Your father was never in my class, and and to tell the truth, I don't remember him at Southland. But Mary was the champion of party givers. She loved to give parties. And so it was the 4th of July, and Mary decided to have a 4th of July party. I was having a very sad day on the 4th because my cousin Sally was dying, and I was crying, and I called Mary to tell her I wasn't going to be able to make it because I was so sad and my eyes were puffed from crying. And somehow Mary talked me into coming anyway. And there at the party, this really handsome guy walked in. He was thin. He was unusual. He wasn't. He was European looking. He had on. It was like a fisherman hat. What do you call it?
Yeah, it was a jean hat,
Yeah.
but it was like fisherman bucket.
Yeah, sort of hat.
It was a good hat. I
Yeah.
love that hat.
Yeah. And we eyed each other, and
Okay, I will stop her right there because here's an important detour. So it was a July 4th holiday. My previous wife left me a couple of weeks before for a better off Indian guy, and that will be another story, hopefully. And I went to San Francisco to see my best ever friend and more than brother, Vashek. And we'll be talking about Vashek probably rather often. So I had a long weekend. I went there on Thursday night and I stayed all the way. And I think the 4th of July was like on Monday or Sunday. It doesn't matter. We can look in the calendar and find. And, weekends with Vashek in those days when we were young could be tiresome. Vashek liked his drinks, and I tried to keep up with him because those were the best evenings. And so by the 4th of July, I was tired. And I was invited to this party, and I didn't really plan to go. I loved Mary, but I was one of those who could take Mary for maybe half an hour and enjoy it. And after that, because she was just blah 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 blah, and so motherly that she would just After a while, for some of us, it was a little bit too much. But I left in the morning and I was driving by Burbank right at the time when the party was supposed to start. I said, what the heck? And I went to Mary's party. Okay. Now I will let Grandma to continue. I just want to add one more very important thing, absolutely the most important thing. Not only that she was the most beautiful woman in that room, okay, that's without saying, but that day, I don't know if on purpose or what happened, she left her glasses in a car. Now, kids, your mother and your grandmother without glasses doesn't see anything, okay? And I took advantage of it. I sneaked in and she didn't have any idea how do I look like. And I didn't talk too much because English was still a relatively new language for me. So I was able to charm her. Okay, this is your part now.
So we both ended up sitting on a sofa at one end of Mary's living room, and we started to chat. And I really liked him, and I thought I could tell that he was interested in me. But when we finished chatting, he didn't ask me for my phone number, and I thought, well, c'est la vie. The next day, your father called Mary to thank her for the party and to ask her questions about me. And Mary was a little dim sometimes, and she didn't put two and two together, and so she let the phone call go. And then a light bulb went on, and Mary called me and said, I just messed up, and told me that Pavi had called and wanted to know about me, and she didn't pick up on it. And so I said, well, now what are you going to do, Mary? You've left me in the lurch. How am I going to get to meet this guy? And so she said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And so what she came up with was that summer I had a computer from my classroom that I had taken home because we were all told to take our computers home. At that time, they were very primitive computers, but they were valuable, and people broke into the classrooms over the summer and stole them. So,
and it's not right to say primitive, okay? They were the top of the technology at the time, and they could do a lot of things. But your grandma, as smart as she is, and literate as she is, she was computer illiterate. Mm-hmm. She still is a little.
Yeah, I still am. So
just stop.
Oh, you just talk?
Yeah.
I thought you said just stop.
No.
So Mary called Pavi and told him that I was having a problem with the computer I brought home from my classroom. And could he please teach me how to use the computer?
Teach her, yo, teach her, ho.
He called me.
And I was nervous, kids, okay? In those days, I was fairly shy. Nobody believes this and that, but Bazi can tell you.
Yeah, he was.
That in those days, I was shy.
And he showed up. He called me. We had this thing where he was going to come over and show me,
Show her. Ho, ho,
and
ho,
it was kind
ho.
of a formal event. And he showed up beforehand, claiming he wanted to look at the computer. That was a surprise. And then when he got to there, he said he was going to have to go to work soon. And was there someplace where we could go to get something to eat?
And she took me to Subway, guys, okay? Subway.
Well, there weren't that many places around where I lived. So he was not in favor of Subway.
That's not a romantic place.
No, you can't. You couldn't sit down in Subway.
You couldn't sit down and look in those blue eyes, okay?
Yeah.
No.
So there was a coffee shop across the street called Frank's. Frank's.
That's a very important coffee shop.
Yeah. And we walked over there and we had some dinner and we talked and we hit it off.
And that, my dear children, is how Grandma and Grandpa met. And the rest of it is history.